A cold laugh echoed through the crowded city bus. And 30 seconds later, everyone wished they had stayed silent. The old homeless man sat quietly near the back, holding a torn paper bag against his chest like it was treasure. His beard was gray, his coat was ripped, and his shoes looked like they had survived 10 winters too many. Most people ignored him. Some stared, but one woman couldn't stop laughing. She was young, dressed in expensive clothes, filming herself for social media while her friends sat beside her. "Look at this guy," she whispered loudly, pointing her camera toward him. "Bro probably hasn't showered since 1998. Her friends burst into laughter. A few passengers looked uncomfortable. But nobody said anything. The old man kept his eyes on the floor. The bus rattled through downtown traffic while rain tapped against the windows. Then the woman leaned forward again. "Sir," she mocked, covering her nose dramatically, "you know this bus isn't a shelter, right?" More laughter. One teenager in the back shook his head. An exhausted mother holding her sleeping child looked away in embarrassment. But the old man, he still said nothing. He simply tightened his grip on the paper bag and stared out the rain-covered window. That somehow made her laugh even harder. "You people always want sympathy," she said. "Maybe get a job?" The entire bus fell silent. Even her friends stopped smiling. The old man slowly looked up. His eyes were tired, but calm, and when he finally spoke, his voice was soft. "I used to have one." The woman rolled her eyes. "Sure you did." The driver glanced in the mirror. Something about the old man's face felt different now. Not angry, not ashamed, just sad. The bus stopped at a red light. Outside, thunder rolled across the city sky. The old man carefully opened his paper bag and pulled out a faded photograph. He stared at it for a second before speaking again. "I had a wife once," he said quietly. "And a little girl." Nobody moved. The woman lowered her phone slightly. "She loved buses," he continued with a faint smile. "Every Sunday we'd ride around the city together because she liked looking at people." For the first time, the woman looked unsure. One passenger near the front whispered, "Man." The old man traced the edge of the photograph with his thumb, but one drunk driver changed everything. The bus became completely silent. Even the engine suddenly sounded quieter. "My daughter died instantly," he said. A heavy pause filled the air. "My wife survived for 6 months." Nobody laughed anymore. The woman slowly lowered her camera. Rain streaked across the windows like tears. "I lost my home after the hospital bills," he continued. "Then I lost myself." The teenage boy in the back stared at the floor. The mother holding her child hugged her daughter tighter. The woman opened her mouth, but no words came out. Then one of her friends whispered nervously, "Maybe stop recording." But it was too late. The old man gently placed the photograph back into the bag. "You know the funny thing?" he said softly. Nobody breathed. "I used to judge homeless people too." The words hit the bus like a punch. The woman's face changed instantly, because suddenly this wasn't entertainment anymore. It was real, painfully real. The bus turned onto a quieter street. Then the driver cleared his throat. "Sir," he said carefully, "I'm sorry." The old man nodded politely, but before anyone could speak again, a black SUV pulled up beside the bus, then another one behind it. Passengers looked outside in confusion. The woman frowned. "What the?" The bus driver slowed to a stop. 2 men in dark suits stepped out of the SUV and hurried toward the bus doors. Everyone stared. The doors hissed open. One of the suited men stepped inside quickly, scanning the bus with concern. Then his eyes landed on the homeless man. "Mr. Whitmore," he said in relief. "We've been looking everywhere for you." The entire bus froze. The old man looked mildly annoyed. "I told you I wanted to ride alone today." The woman's face lost all color. "Wait, Mr. Whitmore." The suited man turned respectfully toward him. "Sir, the board meeting starts in 40 minutes. "Board meeting?" Passengers exchanged confused looks. The second suited man stepped onto the bus carrying a clean coat and umbrella. And then the driver suddenly recognized the name. His eyes widened. "No way." He whispered. A man near the front grabbed his phone and searched quickly, then his jaw dropped. "Oh my God." He turned the screen around. It showed a news article with a smiling photo of the same man from years earlier. Billionaire investor and hospital founder Richard Whitmore donates another $50 million to children's trauma centers. The bus erupted into shocked whispers, "No freaking way. That's him? The billionaire?" The woman's hands started shaking. Richard Whitmore, one of the wealthiest men in the state, a man famous for building hospitals for grieving families after losing his own daughter, and she had just humiliated him in front of everyone. Her breathing became shallow. I didn't know." Whitmore looked at her calmly. "No," he said gently. "You didn't. That hurt worse than yelling ever could." The bus driver stood up immediately. "Sir, I am so sorry for..." Whitmore raised a hand politely. "No need." Then he slowly stood from his seat. Passengers moved aside instantly, but before leaving, he turned toward the woman one last time. She looked seconds away from crying. "I hope someday," he said softly, "you never have to find out how fast life can humble a person." Silence, pure silence. The words cut deeper than anger. Whitmore took the clean coat from his assistant but didn't put it on yet. Instead, he walked toward the exhausted mother holding the sleeping child. Without saying a word, he reached into his pocket and handed her a business card. "If your daughter ever needs medical treatment," he said kindly, "call this number personally." The woman's eyes filled with tears. Thank you." Then he walked toward the teenage boy in the back. "You were the only one who looked uncomfortable," Whitmore said. "Don't lose that humanity." The boy nodded silently, and then Whitmore stepped off the bus into the rain. The suited men followed behind him. The SUVs drove away, and the bus stayed completely still for several seconds. Nobody spoke, nobody even looked at the woman. Her eyes filled with tears as she slowly deleted the video from her phone, but the damage inside her was already done. The driver finally closed the doors and continued driving, and for the rest of the ride, nobody laughed. Because every person on that bus realized the same terrifying truth: the distance between success and suffering can be one tragedy, one mistake, or one bad day, and sometimes, the person the world ignores the most is carrying a story heavier than anyone can imagine. So the next time you see someone struggling, remember this bus, remember Richard Whitmore, and remember that kindness costs nothing. But cruelty can expose everything about who we truly are.